Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Willis and today I'll be presenting on my accounting capstone project that I completed for Florida Southern College. Let me share my screen with you to get started. So the topic that I chose to research is the importance of data analytics for auditing. And as I stated, this is for the accounting capstone project, ACC 6999. And my professor for this semester was Dr. William Quilliam, who really helped me a lot this semester. So I wanted to start by giving a little bit of my personal background and why I chose auditing. So in 2019, I was able to get a Bachelor's of Business Administration majoring in accounting from Georgia Southwestern State University. And during this time, I focused a lot of my elective classes on auditing. And this is when I really began to focus in this area. After graduating, I actually moved to Lakeland, Florida with Public Supermarkets. One of my first positions while I was there was as a senior reconciliation analyst. And a large portion of this job was comparing bank statements to the store's information that they provided us. And almost on a weekly basis, we would find differences. And sometimes it would be, bank error. It could be the courier's fault, or sometimes just accounting errors on our store. After a couple months in this position, I was lucky enough to get the auditing team lead spot. And this provided me a little bit of a bigger picture when it comes to auditing, but also began my management experience with a large company. And that actually had a really big impact into my current position now as the senior manager of property accounting and treasury with Polk County Public Schools. And a large majority of my current position is leading a group of auditors that go to each of our schools to basically audit the property, which could be computers or laptops, iPads that they have borrowed from the county throughout the year. And as you can imagine, with COVID-19, this has been a really rough year and a lot of product is out there. So I wanted to start by looking at the history of auditing and specifically what is auditing. So the definition of an audit is conducting an official financial examination of an individual's or organization's account. Most of y'all probably knew that. Also, I wanted to say exactly what is fraud. And fraud is a deliberate act or failure to act with the intention of obtaining an unauthorized benefit, either for oneself or for the institution, by using deception or false suggestions or suppression of truth or other unethical means. And basically, a large part of being an auditor is catching this fraud. And I believe a lot of us who have an interest in auditing is to really protect the investor and the individuals who are putting the money into this company. They want to see a return, but they also want to see true financial statements. So going back to the history of auditing, it actually, in today's time, we always think of auditing as being a very important part of business, but it really didn't become super prevalent and important until the stock market crash of 1929. And I think that's kind of funny that it took a really bad scenario for us to really start focusing on auditing. Another big part of the history is in 1934 when the SEC was created. And then shortly after, the introduction of GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, that we use all the time for everything. So specifically, not only was I looking at auditing, but also the growth of data analytics. I guess first we should look at what is data analytics. So data analytics is defined as a process of inspecting, cleansing, transforming, and modeling data with the goal of discovering useful information, informing conclusions, and supporting decision making for companies. And one of the biggest parts of the growth of data analytics I was looking at was IBM 360. And this was a computer system that really changed a lot for auditing. It gave us something that we'd never really seen before. And also audit tape in 1967. And while I was researching the growth of analytics and data analytics, I was really surprised at the hundreds of auditing programs that were introduced during this time period. Matter of fact, one of the articles I was reading said one specific company came out with 187 different auditing programs within a year. So I guess one of the main things I also wanted to research was the current day audit. And actually with the current position I'm in now, we are going through an audit, and it actually correlated a lot with this project for me and made me learn a little more. So the typical audit is actually, we perform it once a year, and typically it's over the past year's data. So if fraud did occur, it's not going to get caught immediately. That's kind of scary to think about. And what affects a lot of today's audit is the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. Most of us know about this, Enron and WorldCom, and I'll go on to speak about this a little more, I think, in the next slide. So the future of audits. So when it came to WorldCom and other large audits, a lot of people believed that it could have been prevented with a continuous audit. And I believe that's where the future of audit is leading. And basically that's going to be the use of data analytics to be able to see information as soon as it is entered, so it can be made sure that it is correct and that there's no fraud is occurring. Obviously, this will use technology. This will take a very advanced technology so that not only internal auditors, but hopefully external auditors have access to this information. And as I have my next point, change is happening every day. I mean, we see that in all parts of business, but I believe specifically auditing is going to see a lot of growth because we want to ensure that all the financial statements are being accurate. And this change is going to affect education, job descriptions, and the CPA exam. I've noticed just over the last couple of years, a lot of job descriptions now include a lot more use of data analytics, and specifically Excel, SAP, Microsoft Access, that maybe a couple years ago they weren't using. And obviously this is going to lead to some changes within the CPA exam, as I said, and that's going to be kind of interesting to see how the CPA exam study companies evolve with this change. So some benefits and barriers. Obviously, the use of data analytics will save auditors time, but when some of this stuff's first being implemented, it may actually slow things down a little bit, especially with some companies that may be further behind in technology. One thing that I think is going to be the best benefit is now the ability to hopefully test all data compared to just sampling, which is what we currently do. And this, I believe, is a lot more useful than anything else because it allows us to see every entry. I mean, you could sample 10 out of 100 and you could miss a lot of the potential fraud that could be happening within a company. Also, as I stated earlier, hopefully the ability to track live transactions. Not only internal auditors, but also external auditors should have access to this. But as the last point that's listed on here, security. It's a big fear that if companies allow external auditors to have access to this information, that it could potentially be leaked and really make the company look bad. And some examples that I have listed are schools and hospitals. I mean, this could be HIPAA violations or personal information about students or health information about patients at a hospital that can't be lost. And once it is, individuals are going to blame the company, not necessarily the auditors, and it makes everyone look bad. And also another barrier is the cost of some of these data analytic products that are going to come out. Some smaller companies and even mom and pop stores may not be able to afford it. And that's going to be a barrier for them. So yeah, personal use of data analytics. I wanted to talk a little bit about what I personally use. I think now, and I have Excel, you can do anything. It's probably the most important one in current day. Every position that I've held, 70% of the time you're using Microsoft Excel to do a lot of your work. And if I'm not using Excel, I'm using SAP, which is a great system for any company to store all their information. And the good thing about SAP is you can quickly generate your general ledger accounts after you've done all your journal entries for the month, and it should always balance to your bank statements or whatever statement you're looking at. And this is a really good way for auditors to also have access to each entry. They can see when it was entered. It provides a lot of information for them. They may be able to catch potential fraud. Also, I've used Microsoft Access, not as much in my current position, but in the past, we could use Microsoft Access to take large amounts of data and perform different queries on them to get what we needed for different projects or to help make a decision with the company. And then at Florida Southern, I had the opportunity to also study some use of Tableau. And I found that very interesting. I haven't had to use it yet in an actual real world scenario, but it's definitely useful. So I want to say thank you for watching. I hope you learned a little bit. I know I did when I was studying this. And specifically, thank you, Florida Southern College, for the last year and a half of really teaching me a lot about accounting and specifically auditing. And then Dr. William Quilliam, thank you for all your help this semester. I know I've been emailing you a lot and texting you, so thank you very much. I learned a lot from you this semester. And once again, thanks for watching. Have a good day.